Hi everybody and welcome. I am so glad that you're here. Today's gonna be a really awesome video because we have our amazingly wonderful Strelitzia Nicolai, also known as the giant bird of paradise. Now you see some of the leaves that are like yellow, and that's because now we're gonna start immediately. That's because I did the mistake that I rotated the plant, and when I rotated the plant, then it didn't have any more the support from the wall. So tip number one is that this Strelitzia, especially the Strelitzia Nicolai, the giant bird of paradise, that it has so much weight, it needs to always have support. So it's better to grow against a wall that it can always have support. That's the tip number one. So my mistake was I rotated it because I was seeing that the plant was always going leaning to the wall. So I'm like, okay, let me rotate it so that it can actually then start growing to the other side. But when I did that, it didn't have any more support. And then all of those leaves, the next time when I woke up, all of them, they were just flapped all the way almost to the floor. Like they had died, it was too much weight. And so I immediately rotated it back again, put it against the wall as you see it right now. But many of them already had a big damage because they had, folded all the way to the floor. So now we're going to be pruning those, which was my mistake. Remove that. But by the praise of God, we have a whole bunch of other leaves growing now. So we're going to be opening those leaves together, which you have seen me before in another video telling you how to open the leaves. But you can see it now if you haven't seen that video before. Because, of course, when you are in the environment outside in the tropic, because this is a tropical plant and there's a lot of rain and there's a lot of wind, then the plant itself is able then to open and unfold itself. But in here, because it doesn't have that resources of heavy rain and heavy wind and things like that, because it's 24/7 inside the house, then that's why we need to help the plant, and we need to then unfold it and open it up. So excited. So excited. And I'm going to be relocating the plant as well, because another tip is that this plant grows in a fan-like motion, and she is always trying to search for the sunlight. She loves the sun. So you can see it over here that this leaf over here, she should be going that way, but she's not going that way. She's going this way over here because she keeps on trying to get the sun. So I'm going to go ahead and relocate this plant back again where I had her in this side, which we have then two different windows in each side, and it will help then the plant to be able then to get light from one side and light from the other side. So she's not going to be competing on trying to go just to one side, because there's also sunlight in this side over here. So let's cut the leaves together, which is so nerve-wracking because I love her so much. But okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it together. We are in this together. When pruning the Strelitzia Nicolai, you gotta be very careful, because this over here, you see that right next to the stem, that's where you have then a new growth happening. So right next to the stem, I can see over here that in this case, for example, this was just one trunk. It divided. It gave me then another stem, which becomes then a new leaf. And this leaf, we're gonna be opening it up now. And I see in the center also, it can grow, and it gives me in the center, I can see that there's a new leaf happening over there, a new leaf over there, another new leaf over there. And the same will happen over here. Every time that I see like up to this level, there could be a new leaf coming out of it. So I do not want to touch anything in this trunk. So that's a huge correction that I always make, because I see many people cutting the leaf all the way at the bottom in the trunk, and no, don't do that. Cut the leaf all the way to the top over here. Because I see many people that they say, oh, we're gonna cut a leaf, and they cut all the way at the bottom over here. Do not do that. That's a common mistake that many people do. In this case, you can see that where you have the leaf, that it has like a little leaflet like this, it is the space where you get a new leaf. So like in this case, I see that you have this trunk, and then it has like this little tiny leaflet that is in the side, and that's where you have a new leaf that's growing. And the same happens in here. When I go in the center, I see that there's like this beautiful leaflets that are gonna give me then a new leaf. And so you see in the center that there's a new leaf in the center over there, a new leaf in the center, new leaf in the center. There's 3 leaves that are growing from the center. The key is that leaflet. Do not cut anything below the leaflet because then you will not have a new leaf. If you're gonna be cutting a leaf, then you cut the leaf after this leaflet, like at 2 inches after that leaflet over here. So I have to cut above the leaflet. And that's another leaf that's removed. This is a beautiful, amazing, gorgeous leaf. But of course, she was already dying, all yellow. We have another one over here. Gigantic. Again, this is me. And this covers me almost completely. And this another one over here, which again, I can be like, bam, where's Yali? Gone. Because these leaves are gigantic. That's why it's called the giant bird of paradise. I'm gonna move that tree over here, and then this one is gonna go, the giant bird of paradise is gonna go into this side because again, it has 2 windows and that's where it was before. And I should have never moved it because in here it has then 2 windows, and so it allows it to fan to one side and to fan to the other side. So this is the perfect spot for that bird of paradise. Again, if you want to have the fan-like structure, put it in a place that you can have the sunlight in both directions so that the plant is not going to be doing what it's doing right now, that some of the leaves are going and folding to the other side because it's trying to get the sunlight, versus if it would have had some sun in here but doesn't have no window in here. If it would have had some sun in here, then she would have been facing that direction, fanning as she should. Another leaf. Look how gigantic she is. I finished opening the leaves on the top. Now they're gonna be unfolding for the next few days until they get their green color back, and they're gonna look amazing. Right now they're like a light green, but it's gonna take a few days for them to fully open and just have a dark green. So now we're gonna be opening this one over here, which we don't need is there for that. Light green, but again, just one day it's gonna get back again into a dark green. Make sure to open it up, all up. Because this leaf has opened, but not completely. So we're helping the leaf to open. It's gonna be light green, but again, in a few days it will be dark green and it will take shape. But we have to make sure to open it up completely. Now a few days have passed by and now we have our beautiful plant already getting color. So the leaves that I was opening up, now they have that dark green color. This is how the leaves are. They are so fantastically beautiful. This is a small one, and even with a small one, look how gigantic she is. It is truly a giant bird of paradise. This is one of the ones that we opened, and so she's taking slowly, having that dark color and opening up. And it has only been 3 days since I opened it, and now she has, you know, already almost completely open. The ones that we opened all the way at the top, they're also slowly opening, and I can clearly see that there's more of that dark color. We do see that in here in the center, there's gonna be a new leaf that is coming out. Now that leaf, we do not touch it to open until you have a stem out. So right now, if I go closer for you guys, right now you see that at the bottom, what you're having is still the leaf. It's not the stem. So I need to wait for that leaf completely to get out. Once I have a good chunk of the stem, then that's when we're gonna be opening up. So if you are also in the process of growing your giant bird of paradise, you do not assist the leaf to open until you have a nice chunk of the stem out. Like right now over here, the ones that we open, you see that you have the stem and then you have the leaf. So they were ready to open. That one over here, we don't have no stem. So we have to wait for that one. This is another one that we open. So she is doing fantastic. And this one over here, you see that the weight of the leaf was so intense that it folded in here. I'm not gonna do anything because she's still getting nutrients. But the weight is so intense that that's why it's so good to have it against a wall. Like right now, this leaf is resting on the curtain. The other leaves over there are resting on the walls. All of the leaves over there are resting then all close to the window. The leaves are gonna be growing from here, are gonna be also resting over there. Yeah. Before growing the Strelitzia Nicolai, also known as the giant bird of paradise, I did not have no experience growing this type of Strelitzia because I have grown for years Strelitzia reginae, the bird of paradise that grows in the orange flower, which I have done many videos for you of that plant. I will show you just a little glimpse of the other ones that we have over here, just for you to see how their status is. But there's a whole playlist of the Strelitzia plants, including the Strelitzia Nicolai versus the Strelitzia reginae, in a video that compares them both, so you can actually then see and learn more about them. When I grew this plant, I put her in a big pot. I think this is a 30-gallon pot. But now that I see how gigantic she is, if I were to do it all over again, and if you are thinking about putting also a giant bird of paradise in your home, I recommend to have a huge, big, gigantic pot. Not a 30-gallon pot, probably a 60 or 80-gallon pot, like a huge, huge pot. Because I know that she is gonna get at some point
she's gonna get too clustered in that pot and she doesn't have space, and it's gonna be very difficult to actually move her into another pot. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. What I do is that every single year I do add a coat of soil at the top, because she's eroding the soil. I have even worms in all of my plants inside the house have worms, because this is soil that I grow outside in the garden and from compost, and I just take that soil and put it back again in here. So I always add an extra layer, and then that soil, of course, is full of a whole bunch of microorganisms. So the more microorganisms that are in the soil, the better. When you buy soil, try to buy soil that's organic soil, that hasn't been put a whole bunch of pesticides, fertilizers, all that kind of stuff. We don't need that. We don't need a whitewash soil. We need a soil that is dirty soil full of a whole bunch of microorganisms and lots of worms and things like that. And if you don't have that, then get them worms. You can buy worms and put earthworms and put them then in your soil, because they do make all the tunnels, they make all the nutrients, they are just good feeders. Every single plant that I have in my house, every single one is full of microorganisms, so lots of earthworms in there. In the beginning, when you're growing it, which you're gonna see the video, because I had a video of transplanting the plant. At the beginning, she's small. We bought her like this tiny thing. And you are going to be growing in a tiny pot, and then you transplant it into a bigger pot and so forth. But once it gets into being like almost 4 feet high, that the leaves are getting bigger, then that's when you should plant it into the forever pot. So I would say that that's the only thing that I regret, not having a pot that it was like 60 gallons or 80 gallons, a huge pot to actually plant. It's important to maintain then the actual base clean. So in here, I'm just gonna remove then this over here that is dead. Anything that you see there like this, just remove it. You can pull it sometimes, but sometimes it's too hard, so just cut it like I'm doing right now. There we go. This over here is still dry, it's good. This came out by itself. This came up also as well. So we removed that one over there. I can cut if I want this over here, because it's not gonna give me no leaf. So I'm just gonna cut that little piece over there, because this was an actual leaf growing, but it got into contact with something and it inhibited the growth. That's why it's so important not to have something that is gonna stop the growth, because it's colliding and touching something. Because if it does, then it will stop the growth. So that leaf, it was supposed to be a beautiful leaf, but it stopped because of touching something. That's where I had her before. This is what I used then. This is just a chopstick from the Chinese food. So I use that to see how the soil is. So when it comes out the soil like that, like dark and it's still humid, then that means that it's still good. But it comes out the soil really dry, then I know that I need to add then water. So that's a tip and trick. If you want to have a way to know how the soil is, so you can have one of these. Look how beautiful she is. Beautiful. And she will get even more beautiful. Beautiful plant. Gorgeous plant. Gorgeous. Look at those leaves on the top. They're so big. I love her. Just for reference, this is how she is. Now this one, the Strelitzia reginae, is a tropical bird of paradise, also from the same family, it's Strelitzia, but this is not the Nicolai, this is the reginae, and the leaves, as you can see, are very thin, they're narrower. Now we did have flowers recently, and I'm gonna cut then the stems of the flowers because they already dry out, they're done. But once they grow the flower stays there for you to enjoy for a few months. I think we had it for like almost 3 months that we were enjoying it. And then after that, then the flowers go to die and dehydrate. But back in Puerto Rico, where my family, where I'm originally from, and I have my family still, we have lots of bird of paradise, and in there you do see lots of blooms always, because it is the ideal conditions of the plant, because this is a tropical plant. But in here, we are in Maryland, Garden Zone 7, So it's pretty cold all year long. We only have then the end of May, June, July, August, and that's it that we have that are more warm, and then after that we go back again to being cold. So the majority of the year is cold, and we don't have a huge amount of sunlight constantly coming in to maintain the tropical environment. Plus then of course they're indoors 24/7, so they don't get then the wind and the rain and all that kind of stuff. So if you love the bird of paradise, please grow it and let me know. Share all your tips and tricks, and let me know how is it going and your experience of here between our plant lovers. I love hearing your stories, and I love hearing your experience and how is it going with your babies. So I love you all so much. Thank you so much for being part of our amazingly kind community. Thank you for being so awesome. Thank you for being part of my journey. Thank you for everything. You are so wonderful. And I'll see you back again in our next video. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the miracles. Love you. Love you so much.